Welcome back to How to Be a Better DM, the official podcast of Monsters.rent. I'm Justin Lewis.
And I'm Tanner Wayland.
And we are here to help you tell better stories for yourself and your players as you dungeon master sessions of D&D, Dungeons & Dragons. We'd like to give you some quick announcements. We actually have one before the show, and then after the show, if you want to stick around, we have some more announcements then as well. But first, let's talk about this. Tired of being alone? Are you tired of not having any of your players understand you? Are you tired of never truly belonging? Well, you're in luck. All you need to do is join the Guild. The Guild is a unique and exclusive experience that is only open to Dungeon Masters. It is a full community focused on helping ease your DMing burdens. Want to meet other DMs? Join the Guild. Want to discuss your homebrew ideas with people who would appreciate it instead of just telling your cat? Join the Guild. Want to find a place where all your wildest dreams will come true? Join the Guild. Go to monsters.rent/guild and sign up today for free. Wait, that can't be right. Chuck, can you check this again? Is this supposed to be... What? Oh, they're serious? It's free? Oh, okay. All right. Yes, go to monsters.rent/guild and sign up today for free, even though they are crazy for giving this away for free. Common side effects may include burping, sneezing, laughing, breathing, hearing, listening, tasting, farting, critting, sarcasm, and in extreme cases, explosive diarrhea. Awesome. With that out of the way, we can get into today's show. I don't like the look of this, Sefereth whispers. You look back at the slender elven woman. She wears plate armor as if it weighed nothing, a great sword in her hand. You smile. You are wise as you are lovely, my dear. Your hands grasp each other's, a brief moment of affection between man and wife. It was only a tenday since you and your beloved were wed. Others might decide to honeymoon in large cities surrounded by luxury. For your band of adventurers, emergency necessitated other arrangements. You turn your attention back to the entrance of the dungeon. You've never seen anything quite like it. Where other caves might have moss and lichen growing on the rock face, crystal, the color of pearly moonlight, adorns these walls. It appears as if grown there rather than placed. It has a strange feeling of life. Your party was brought here by rumors of an elixir that can cure any disease, along with rumors of huge swaths of the kingdom falling ill to an unknown disease. Rather than rendering the sick feeble and weak, this disease swells their muscles and drives their minds mad. They become mutated monsters, wreaking havoc on all they come in contact with. The kingdom now is made up more of monsters than of man, and it's up to you and your friends to save it, as usual. A soft music drifts out of the cave's entrance, almost as if to invite you in. You look at the rest of your party. Each looks at you in turn with undying loyalty. You grip your staff harder and you place a hand around the necklace of beads left to you from your mother. She left it to you as a legacy to remember her by. You use it as a magical focus to channel your arcane energies and to bend reality to your will. We go forth to save those who cannot save themselves, you say, and you step into the cave. Welcome back to the 6th episode of How to Be a Better DM. I'm here to help you tell better stories as you dungeon master a nice little game of Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Before we get into today's show, another quick shout out to @Kahootaz, @KAHOOTAZ on Instagram, who does the audio work for this show. He is awesome, and if you need any help with audio work, or any audio work done, he's the guy. So reach out to him @KAHOOTAZ on Instagram. Now, to the show. Today we are talking about crafting dungeons. This is a staple of playing D&D and definitely a go-to for DMs everywhere. Whether you're playing from an adventure book or are crafting your own story, adding in a dungeon here and there is always a great way to break up all the quests and side quests your characters are on and give them something concrete and tangible to do. Very direct. So let's get to 5 tips for crafting your dungeons. Number 1 is start with the purpose of the dungeon. Said another way, figure out what your players' purpose will be in the dungeon. In the example at the beginning of the episode, the purpose is clear. Find the healing elixir. In my current campaign with my friends, they were sent to clear out a haunted mansion so that that mansion could be set up as an orphanage. Basically, set up the rules of engagement for the dungeon. Answer the questions of why are the players there, and what are the general rules for how they will engage with the environment. Number 2, set a big boss. Dungeons get much easier to make if you model them after most video games. For every level in a video game, there's generally a boss. Sometimes this could be in the form of puzzles or the form of an actual adversary. In my current campaign, and this is a spoiler alert if you are my friend and you're actually playing in my campaign, which I highly doubt any of my friends are listening to this podcast. But if you are, you should probably tune out right now. Everyone else, the big boss in my current campaign in the Haunted Mansion is an undead beholder who's fooled a woman to marry him and love him and is using her love to fuel the Haunted Mansion. I personally like it more when the boss is an adversary. It kind of feels more personal, you could say, rather than just fighting against nature. But a difficult puzzle that also causes damage to players, not players, but to characters, that can be just as fun. So, number 2 is set a big boss. Number 3 is to pick a theme. Often this will generally come with either the purpose of the dungeon or the big boss, and this makes the puzzles and the smaller enemies much easier to pick. It's not hard finding what to fill your dungeon with because there's so much. It's actually hard choosing what not to fill it with, again, because there's so much. Let's take the scenario at the beginning of this episode. The cave the group would be going into, the one with all the crystals, it's probably going to have some sort of crazy archfey at the end of the cave. So most of the baddies that they're going to fight will probably be some sort of fey or some sort of dreamlike creature or dream-using creature and have that sort of nature. That doesn't mean you can't stray. It just helps you narrow down what most of the enemies will look like and be. So that's number 3. Number 4 is to record the map. You can either use a map someone else has created, draw one yourself beforehand, or draw one on the spot while playing. Though I don't really recommend this. It's kind of hard. But you have to have a map. You have to. Why? Because your players are going to get lost. And you are going to get lost. And the story will get lost. Seriously. Your players are probably going to want to go back and check certain things out. They may want to try different paths. And all in all, a map will make the game feel much more immersive. I pulled the map for my current Haunted Mansion dungeon off of Patreon. Just a simple mansion type map. And then I tweaked it to my uses. Just there's a lot of content out there. And a lot of it's free. So all you got to do is just go find it. Last but not least, number 5, pick your puzzles. Believe me when I say that having your players face encounter after encounter after encounter after encounter after encounter can get very tedious, both for you and your players. In encounters, helping the players get into the story can be very hard because you're dealing with a lot of moving parts. That usually comes, the story usually comes in between combat encounters when there's time to pause and think. That's not to say it's impossible to do it during the encounters, but it's just a lot easier when the players aren't rushed by time or things like that. They can sit and think about the story, especially when a particular puzzle is forcing them to do just that. You don't have to have a lot of puzzles, especially if you don't like them, but pick just enough to break through the monotony of encounters after encounters after encounters after encounters. You get my point. And don't worry, I am not good at thinking up puzzles either, believe me. With my current campaign, I just looked up some online and then tweaked them to fit my campaign, and voila! It's an interesting puzzle without making me become Einstein. Just use Google. So let's sum them up. Number 1 is pick a purpose. Start with the purpose of the dungeon. Number 2 is pick a big boss. Number 3 is to pick a theme for your dungeon. And number 4, record the map. Please, 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 for goodness sakes, record the map. Number 5, pick your puzzles. So remember, if you're new to crafting dungeons, make sure you have fun with it. And also know that you can look basically almost everything up online. Everything else you don't find online, just BS on the fly or make it up beforehand. And you're going to be great. You're going to do great. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Please follow the show so you never miss a single episode and so I can give you better content. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you leave a rating and review and share the show with a new DM to help them along the way. Lastly, reach out to me on Instagram at Geronimo Levis to ask questions, give suggestions, or just tell me how your campaign's going, because honestly, I would love to know. I love talking about D&D. It's probably going to be someday an addiction or something, but anyways, I love talking about D&D, so send me a DM and I'd love to hear about your current campaign. Other than that, though, thanks for listening, guys. Until next time, let's go ahead and roll initiative. Thank you for listening to today's show. We really appreciate your support and your patronage. We have a few more announcements to go over. First,
did you ever fall in love with the library as a kid? It was a place where you could experience 1,000 stories without having to buy 1,000 books. That is what Monsters.Rent can do for your D&D campaign. You can rent and swap out as many quality miniature monsters and creatures for your D&D party as you could ever want, without having to buy them. You can rescue villagers from a kobold camp, or lead your party through the fighting forest, or many more adventures. We're coming out with new bundles all the time. Just sign up for our subscription to get access to your own personal library of minis. Go to monsters.rent to find out more. That's the website. monsters.rent. Get your library pass to a world of minis today.
we also wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Stardust and Dragons. I'm going to let one of the cast of Stardust and Dragons, Christian Hatcher, and his crew tell you a little bit more about it.
This August, a new adventure podcast is coming to a platform near you, filled with action,
You one of the two of them. We can't keep taking hits like that.
drama,
Everything that she's been doing, everything she's going to do, finally sets in.
and stardust.
Help! Help! Someone, please!
Find out more about this epic odyssey at stardustanddragons.com, where adventure awaits in the stars.
That's all the announcements we have today. Again, thank you so much for everything you do for us. You make this show possible. Like we said before, we'll be back next week with another great episode, and until then, let's go ahead and roll initiative.